Okay, call to order. Pledge allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. We have Kathy Devlin and Tim Patrikas from the Board of Selectmen, Brian Wissinger, Kim LaFleur, Todd Rowland, DPD Director, Mike Marinaccio, Chief John Roach, Kim Liddick, and guest Jackie Nappo from the Journal Inquirer, and George Roberts. Okay. We're going to kind of move ahead here and let Todd go first, followed by John Roach.
If you have my printout, first request is for to make the recycling center operator that we made interim back in December a permanent position for the recycling center. We posted the job and received one application from Monty Moses, no others. We ran him through the application process again, and he's well qualified for the position. He's already applied for the operator's license at the end of the month. He'll be taking his classes. So we're requesting to make him the permanent loader operator at the recycling center.
Do it one at a time?
I only have one question. This will eliminate, as far as like his snow position,
No.
seasonal.
No. That's, as a CDL driver, he has a different rate. Recycling center pays the flat rate. The CDL driver is a different rate.
How are we going to differentiate between the two?
Well, like we have in the past with the two different time cards. This year it hasn't really been an issue.
I was going to
because
say, we haven't,
snow.
it wasn't working at the transfer station in the past.
Not the past year, but this past, he has plowed a couple times for us. Salted once, and then we had that storm in November. And we sent up two different time cards. Well, we sent up a time card just for that one storm for those few hours. We'll do the same thing.
All right.
I mean, he'll have his normal weekly time card, and then in the event we use him for snow, would be a different rate, and that would be, we'll send up a special time card for the same pay week that we sent up the normal one. And we noted on the top of the time card.
So what are the...
Thing is you're running into potential overtime hours that he's not being credited for, and that's why I don't like the two rates either. Because if he works an 8-hour day and then he plows for 8 hours, but it's in two different things, it's not going to total up to, while it would total up to a 16-hour day and potentially a 42-hour week, when it gets separated, now it's only 32 and 8, or 34 and 8, let's call it.
Right.
And so he's not going to see the overtime. So that's my issue with the two different rates and two different positions. None of the other plow operators get two different rates.
They don't work for us in any other capacity.
Well, Tisdale has a CDL.
Oh, well, yeah, but they're a full-time regular employee.
Right, but he's now a permanent employee. He's not a seasonal employee and a permanent employee. He's just a permanent part-time employee. So that's going to be...
How would we resolve that?
He would make his rate. Seasonal is seasonal, but a permanent employee, that's their rate. I don't care what they do. If they're here for 14 hours a day, if they're here for 6 hours a day, that's their rate. I don't care what their job does during the time that they're here. No other employee gets two different rates.
You can do it like a shift do.
But he's going to get overtime now because
But
he's
he
a
could,
full-time person.
Well, he could potentially get overtime.
Right.
And we would be exposed for not paying him that,
Right.
that overtime.
Right. No, I see
That's a
All
labor
right, yeah,
issue.
we'll pay him at the rate that we're paying him for the recycling center.
Yeah, so
I'll
we
work
would
that
just
out
get
with him.
rid of the seasonal
secondary
snowplow,
rate,
yeah. Just make
So
sure
what-
he understands that.
No,
as
I'll
well.
work it out with him.
So what is that rate then?
It's $16 an hour. for the
16
recycling
is
So
center.
this got to be in the letter, the offer letter.
No, well, it'll be the rate that he earns anytime he's working for the town,
Yeah,
is what it should say.
yeah.
And over 40, he'll get time and a half.
How many hours is it at the transfer station on a weekly basis?
32
And a half.
and a half, 32 and a half.
You'll clarify that with him, Todd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Put it in
just
writing.
his offer, whatever it will be.
Sure.
That's his rate, and then time and a half, over 40, and for any week.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion based upon
I'll make a motion that
the
we
letter?
we accept the recommendation of Todd for the hiring of the candidate at $16 an hour.
second.
All in favor?
Wait, I wanna discuss
Well,
something.
Yep.
Todd, if he's working 32.5 hours a week,
Mhm.
and the storm comes on the weekend, who's going to cover for him at the transfer station? Or
We,
would he
either
just-
myself or Dave does, if we're open. If the storm, we don't call the seasonals in all the time. For small storms, we never call them in. For larger storms, we call them in, and we typically close. If it's a large
Well,
storm,
that
we
would
close
be
the
true,
transfer
too.
station.
You close the transfer station in this, okay, that makes sense, okay. I'll vote now.
Based upon him clarifying this letter, right?
Yes.
With Mike, all right? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item, Todd?
It's come to our attention that we lack a written footwear policy specifically for safety shoes, which we require all of our people to wear. Safety toe, and they have to be boots and a sturdy
Right.
construction and meet the ANSI guidelines. I'm requesting, in part of your package, we drafted a footwear policy that's pretty simple, but it is very specific. This would allow each team member that's field personnel to get an allowance of $200 per fiscal year for reimbursement for safety wear, for new boots. And it has to meet the ANSI standards for protective footwear.
Mhm.
We just want to put it in writing so that we have it on record. We don't have anything right now. Historically, we've been giving $125 a year from the,
Close.
but there's nothing in writing. When I inquired about upping it, because you can't buy good quality safety boots for that kind of money, and most of them are more than 200, but that's what we kind of settled on.
Do they last more than a year?
Sometimes it depends on what they buy. I mean, if you buy a $300 or $400 pair, you'll get more than a year out of them. For lesser quality ones,
Every year.
you're buying them every year. So we felt that $200, it's still less than a lot of towns. A lot of towns provide their footwear once a year. They bring in a footwear consultant. We're not really big enough to do that. So if they want to go and get their own shoes, that's fine, as long as they're safety shoes and they have safety toes and they meet the standard. We're within the OSHA guidelines for that. We provide all of their personal protective equipment, and this is kind of modeled after what other smaller towns do. So we're requesting this be adopted by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, I'm looking, well, can I talk now for a minute?
Sure.
When I look at this, I'm saying, where do we, on this protective footwear safety policy, where do we keep ourselves immune? I think there has to be another bullet point that says that these shoes should be provided with your inspection, so that you know that they're safety shoes that are being worn, rather than just assuming because you gave them the money that they were buying them.
Well, they have to provide us with a receipts of.
No, I
of
think
the-
what she's talking about is the quality of footwear stands up to some potential accident that holds the Todd liable because, in effect, we authorized it.
Right. Well, we could add that they have to provide the documentation for the footwear that
That's
they
what I would like to
purchase.
see.
Well, and the other thing I see, there's nothing in here that says they need to wear them when they're working. So I know when I was on Board of Ed, we had the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education that had
It does,
a
the last line
statewide thing
says
that
that.
says,
The employee's responsible for wearing.
so is there an agency
Shall.
that we belong to that has a policy already, so we're not drafting something from scratch and missing something or putting something in there that can't be defended? So I know CABE was the resource that we had at the school board. Do we have a similar resource for the town? Some other town must have a footwear policy.
Do they
That's
have
where we got
Kerma?
this.
Does Kerma have it?
But
I mean,
OSHA probably does.
yeah, I mean, but Todd and I
OSHA's-
talked about
yeah.
this, and
OSHA is speaking to the ANSI standard.
yeah,
Is there
I
OSHA
just, I
standard?
Yeah,
hesitate
the
to
ANSI
have us,
standard is the,
I hate to have us hesitate, I don't like to have us playing lawyer and drafting a policy that's got no basis for defense.
I
So
know
I'd
what
rather
you're
see
saying.
something come from an agency
Yes,
that's done this in
Kerma.
other towns,
yeah,
somebody,
sure,
but
absolutely. You can do that.
and what's
Maybe they have something. 'cause
the
it's new.
financial impact of the 200? Is that
It's
No,
already in
it's
the
in the
budget.
budget.
already in the budget?
Yeah, it's already in the budget.
Just reimbursement up to
Yes.
$200.
Up to
Yes.
Not an allowance. Usually an allowance doesn't require.
right,
anything.
reimbursement.
Right, it's a
I think it's a
reimbursement.
year and a half out of the shoes, right?
Yeah, so can we?
And it's a
can
year
we,
from purchase
Yeah, we can
time, so
table
it's
this.
not like every July it comes due. If you bought your shoes in June, July, you don't get a new allowance, you don't get it again until
Okay.
June. So you can't like stack and
Yeah,
hoard
so if we
pairs
could
of
just
shoes.
table it until we have it a little bit more final, I'd be more comfortable with something
Okay.
we've got.
And most department public works are unions, and it's in their union
I
Right.
think that's a good idea.
contract,
Right.
so we don't have anything like this, so Kermit would probably just look at this for us.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, Todd.
Next item is, this is a CIP request for the bus that we may be receiving tomorrow. It's been delayed
We've been saying
several
that since
times.
October, so let's
Um,
not get our hopes up.
The new transit bus for the senior center, this is an 80-20 grant. It's the 5310 DOT grant that we got back in the fall. The town's part is $11,564.60. The total purchase price of the vehicle is $57,823. All the paperwork has been in, the bus was ordered, and we should be receiving it any time now. This is just the CIP request for this year. And once we have taken delivery and put it into service, I understand that we want to sell the 2014 buses. Is the
Absolutely.
plan, okay.
So this is a
This
replacement.
is
I
a
think
replacement
that's what
for the
we made very
2014
clear
bus.
that they wouldn't, yeah, we said that very clearly.
So you need authorization for us
Yes.
to present the CIP.
Correct.
That's correct.
So for the purposes of discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the CIP request for the acquisition of the transit bus, with the understanding that once it's acquired, the 2014 bus will be sold.
Okay.
Second,
Additional discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Get you to sign that, Mr. Hancock, on the top line there.
Finally, we're not doing the other ones.
No, the other ones we'll do
Next-
in
some other
February.
time.
Yep.
The final thing is the stormwater, which I had brought to the board's attention back in December. I had a conversation and email back and forth with the town clerk. Her recommendations are on number 5 below. Also, we cleaned this up, condensed it, so it's only 8.5 pages versus what it used to be. It's modeled after a couple other towns, Canton being one. And it's very similar to theirs, and took out some of the superfluous language that was in it. Really, for my mind, the next step is probably to have the town attorney look at it. Ann's comments are below, A through F.
So what do you need from us tonight, Todd? Anything or just?
Just
information?
permission to send it to Carl to take a look at is the next step, and then we have to develop Ann said determine timeframe in seeking adoption of the proposed documentation based on attorney review, public hearing, comments, etc. Submit to the town attorney for review. Review the sample ordinance to determine compliance with current standards, which is what Fuss and O'Neill is working through now. Determine if incorporation should be where we should put it, sewer and water or separate. And then the selectmen to determine enforcement individual. We did change one thing on that, which is we changed it from the Director of Public Works to authorized enforcement agent or agency as designated by the Chief Executive Officer, so it could be whomever you decide.
Well, it's an ordinance, Jen. Right, okay.
Any
We have
one
to
of your
have it-
designated.
Once this is approved by the attorney, it would come back to us and we'd
Yes.
set a date for a hearing.
Right.
Right, okay.
It's still a process to work through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need a vote to send it to the attorney, or you just want to vote on it when it comes back from the attorney?
I don't think you need a vote to send.
Yeah.
I would just,
So that, I'd just
Send
go
it to
ahead and
Carol.
send it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll do a vote when it comes back.
yeah.
is that all you have? I have a question for you. It might have been the last meeting we were talking about Shaker Road.
Yeah, that's
And
here.
you came back to us. But
Oh, yeah.
I want to understand what you think is going to happen there, or if anything.
Shaker Road is on the agenda,
Yes,
Bud?
it's on the agenda.
Oh,
under-
it is?
Yes.
Under
We'll
what?
get to that.
Oh,
I'm not
correspondence.
seeing it.
yeah.
Where is it?
It's under opportunity add items.
Oh, okay.
That you have
Gonna
to-
have
Perfect, thanks.
Well, I'll put it on opportunity items.
Okay,
Okay.
Move to add item Shaker Road.
okay.
The
Thank you.
effective date for Monty.
I wanted to see that too.
Can we make it Sunday
And also
so it's the
we're
start of
talking
the
about
period, so
items.
it's not muddy at all?
Right.
Approval,
This Sunday?
Yeah, so it'd be
For the
what,
resolution.
what then?
19, 20?
Summer's
Is it 20th or 19th?
summer's high school.
20th.
time.
Yeah.
I don't see them.
Well, these are notes we're adding. That's what
I never heard those. Oh, I never got them up there.
No, we're just adding those down.
Okay.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about.
No, no,
Right, well, you made a motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chop it.
Okay,
It's under
well,
11.
so we'll wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Going to John next.
But see, wouldn't it be better if that's the only thing, is Todd, the only thing Todd's gonna be involved in tonight?
We can talk about that now.
Then we should, so that you don't have to just stick around unless you want to.
Well, I'm staying for the CIP.
He's going to be here for CIP.
CIP.
I'm here all
Let's
night
just-
anyway.
Then
Let's
just
just
stay.
follow the agenda. Yep.
We're here for the night.
John's-
Whatever.
Anything else, Todd?
No.
We'll talk about Shaker Road. We have
Okay.
agenda items. Chief, you want to jump in here?
Predominantly, sent out, did Bud get a copy of that letter?
Yeah,
Okay.
did you send it?
Well, I sent it earlier
I
twice.
didn't get it.
That's under 8, number 8.
So what we are looking to do is we did an open application process at this point in time. We would like to make full-time offers to 2 firefighter EMTs, first being William Shappert and the second one being Tim O'Keefe. We've got existing openings, it's budgeted, so the funds are already there. One of the positions has been open since August, so we've been short-staffed for a little while. So again, we're looking to have them start on board fairly soon. Both of them have probably over 10 years of experience. They both started in volunteer fire departments and then became career elsewhere, which I think is good. Having a combination department here, they understand the volunteer aspect of that as well, which I think is important. And they are both also paramedics currently with med control in the area. So when we go ALS, they're already there and ready to go. So that's part of the program that we're looking at. So again, my request for the selectmen is kind of worded there to make a motion that Mr. William Shappert and Mr. Tim O'Keefe be given conditional offers of employment as firefighter EMTs for the Town of Somers Fire Department. This will be conditional on their successfully passing both the physical and the background check requirements, and then the pay and benefits will be in accordance with the union contract.
Okay.
Okay. I move that we accept it with that particular motion. Would you like me to read it again?
It's up to you.
No, I think so moved is
We're fine, so moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Second item is number 7 in your packet.
Huge.
Which is, I'll read this, to the Board of Selectmen, the members of the Somers Firefighter Union would like permission to open up contract negotiations, the contract ending on June 30th, 2019. Look forward to having some positive dialogue and working out a contract that is beneficial for our members in the town. We thank you for your consideration with this request and look forward to hearing from you. That negotiation will be on
First one will be on the
February the 11th. It will involve the chief, myself, Pat McHale, our labor attorney, and the union representatives. Is that going to be Glenn Reynolds or?
I don't know offhand. It'll either be Glenn
It
Reynolds
usually
and
is.
or Lieutenant Wheeler.
Okay, so I need your approval to open these negotiations.
So moved.
Second?
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is that it, John?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, budget update and discussion.
Let's do Kim's CIP first.
Can't
and
we do
then-
number 4?
Yep, that's what I was just saying.
I see.
Let's do Kim's CIP and then we'll deal with budget.
That would be number 4.
Yeah, they've got copies of it.
All right, Kim.
It's a request for the police department to get an additional cruiser. In the past less than a year, we've hired 2 additional school resource officers and had one of our part-time officers go full-time. And without getting into scheduling, it's really a need just for basic patrol for the town. So, does everybody have a copy of the request? We have the,
Mike or Brian, you want to comment?
anybody, do you.
And-
These-
It's additional, right? It's
Yeah, it's-
something we're not replacing anything.
No, we're not
It's
replacing
something
We're not
that's
replacing
needed
anything,
because of
correct. We currently have
manpower and
correct. We
a
currently
shortage
have
of
7
vehicles versus the number of
5
troopers on duty.
Correct. We have 5 police vehicles currently and 7 police officers and
So
budgeted for an 8th,
it
which we're
impacts,
actively looking
it
for.
impacts then it impacts the police force.
Basic patrol.
People are basically sitting in the station rather than patrolling.
Yes, because there's an overlap.
So it impacts public safety.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we felt this might happen 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think we saved the town for 2 years, but we knew this was going to happen, so.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't see any
resident state
reason-
troopers that are assigned here that cost a lot more money, obviously come with a police car,
Come with
where
a
the
car,
town
which we
officers
don't have, right.
save a ton of money, but don't
Right.
have them, so.
So this is a fiscal 19 request, not something to tee up for fiscal 20 like we are with the other projects.
Right.
This is a here and now.
We
They
need
have
now.
one. They have one on the lot, so we can order it.
They have one, we're not going to be
Correct. I
delayed
checked
6 months
yesterday.
like we were
No.
last.
I checked yesterday and they have one a lot.
Okay.
Does that include all the additional equipment needed?
It does, it's actually.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Computer and all that, or no?
Everything is listed on these 2 pages that I attached.
All right, so
The only thing,
if you
that's
say
not
go on
added
this, the
is
CIP
the
will
computer.
entertain this tonight, so.
computer and the
at their
trailer
meeting.
hitch are the
Yeah,
only
it's on
things
here.
that aren't added.
It's in
But
here.
you had budgeted
We put it,
for
we
it.
budgeted for it, the
Yeah.
additional $2,500 for
I can
accessories.
see that.
Correct.
All right.
If we can still get a 2018, we'll save the town $2,000.
I
If
move
not,
to-
the 2019 is $2,000 more.
I would like to make a motion to approve the capital equipment project request from, the
No,
police
to be
department.
submitted to the CIP.
To, and for it to be submitted to CIT for
For
approval.
the purposes of discussion, I'll second.
Any additional-
Yeah, so how many officers are on duty at any given time in town?
I'm not gonna get into that in the public,
We can stop,
Yeah, if you wanna.
recording.
Yeah, we-
it's a safety issue.
Okay.
If you wanna do it, I
Well,
understand that,
I
there is
just-
a safety
Yeah.
reason for it,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so let's presume that that's, forget it. Is this in the CIP budget for this fiscal year?
It's not, but we do have the money for it. Yes, we do have the reserves for it. It wasn't part of the initial budget. No.
I'm gonna stick with what I said a month ago. I'm opposed to spending money that we didn't plan on spending. And if we knew that this was a need going back 2 years, it should have been in the CIP plan for 2019. If you wanna push it out to 2020,
The
I get it,
SROs
but-
is
but
a new
unless
thing
we're-
that the
unless-
town wanted.
unless we're replacing something that's gone. We spent 50 grand to open the transfer station, we added staff for the youth director, and here we are with another 50 grand. If it's not replacing a vehicle that's fallen apart, I got a hard time spending another 50 grand that wasn't planned.
I'd have a hard time not getting the coverage.
Okay.
That's my thing, 'cause I think it's safety first, and, I personally have felt the loss of coverage, so we won't go any further than that.
I understand, but that's my point of, should have been part of the discussion going into 2019, so we could tell the town, this is where we're gonna spend money and why. Right now, we have a CIP plan, I'm presuming, for the town for 2019. And that's what we went to the town with and said, this is what we're gonna spend money on. This wasn't part of it. At some point, we're accountable for a plan that we execute. We've gotta stop adding these $50,000 line items.
But I think in reference to that, Tim, this is a timing issue as it relates to the addition of 2 additional officers, I assume, Kim, right?
Right, the SROs were something new that the
Right.
town requested.
Which
But do
occurred.
the SROs really need a town police vehicle?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We had one SRO last year,
We
That
had a
was the
state
trooper.
trooper,
State
It was the
trooper.
state
Yeah.
Yeah,
trooper.
it was a state trooper. We
and
didn't
they're
have-
part-time this year, right? The
two
two,
part-timers,
They're 2
correct.
part-time for full-time coverage.
But they
right?
also do full, so we have
We have,
full-time coverage.
and we also have overlap days that we won't get
Right.
into details.
but I'm curious whether they both need to have cars. If
Correct.
they're both part-time, can't they hand off a car so we have patrol coverage? So I'm gonna be
We've
a no.
had to do
I'm
that,
just gonna
and
be
it's
a no
very
on-
uncomfortable, because if you end up with a prisoner, and you have to take that prisoner to Tolland, and now you have a SRO at the school without a car, and you have to go from one school to the library.
I don't
that
dispute
timing
any of
is-
that, Kim.
Is
It's about
very
planning.
dangerous,
It's about planning.
correct, yeah.
The town deserves to
that.
know what we plan on spending our money on. And so far, we've usurped that with the transfer station, we've usurped that with hiring the couple people, one for PR and one for support on youth services, and now another 50. I'm done spending extra money, I'm gonna be a no.
Well, that was not in my budget. So.
I understand, I understand. I'm just unspending money that we didn't plan on
I
spending.
get that. That's
Yep.
fine.
I did not approve.
No, we don't.
We don't have
it's not
anybody
been
for youth
approved.
services.
Youth service director, or youth service.
That has not been approved.
Yeah, that hasn't been, but we don't have that in.
Okay,
There's also additional revenue that comes in from the officers that work,
get it.
even though it doesn't go back into the police budget, goes into the general budget. So if that does not
I
come
get it.
in,
And there's
that
three,
we're on budget for about $60,000. So
I get it,
in
and there's-
essence, it actually
there's three
pays for
votes that'll
itself.
pass.
No, I'm
gonna be a no.
just giving you information. That's all, Tim.
Yep, I appreciate it, but
okay, your vote?
Did we make a motion yet? Oh, this
You
was
made a motion.
discussion,
Yeah, it was
okay.
discussion,
all in
motion's
favor?
on the
All right.
table.
I vote for it.
I vote for it also,
I'll oppose.
okay? On the basis of safety and a recommendation from our police administrator. This will be submitted to the CIP.
Right, I just moved it on to the next,
Yeah, moves it on
next
to
level,
CIP.
where it could fail also, so.
Yeah.
I need you to sign that, bud. Thank you, sir. All right. All right, you ready to talk budget? Yes. That updated since last time. For you. And
For the record,
you.
this is a draft,
Yes,
draft copy.
this is
They're
still
working
all in
on-
draft.
Subject to change.
There have been changes since 2 weeks ago. A couple of things you may or may not jump right out at you. The Board of Ed has put their budget out now. They met on Monday. Their number is in here now.
Last page.
Last page shows the total. Page 2 has them on it. Their increase is $1,091,000, 4.78% increase. I met with the super on Tuesday for about an hour talking about the budget. One of the first questions I asked him was, how did the Board of Ed receive your budget? Did they have any questions, or was there any angst against it? And they seem to be very open to it. So I would not foresee Board of Ed changing it at all. I believe this is what's going to end up being presented to Board of Finance, unlike last year where the Board of Ed did cut them before they went to Board of Finance. So overall, townwide, it's $1.735 million as of now. It's a 5.37 increase.
How does this 4.78% increase by the Board of Education compare to other similar towns in terms of their Board of Education proposals?
That I don't have an answer
I was
for.
going to ask the JI for an article on every town that they have, because
Well,
there's one
there
almost
were
every
some
other
in
night.
There
And,
is-
and, the,
there
and,
is
and the
two
headline
flavors.
has the
Yeah.
rate for the
I saw
towns.
one or two of them come
I
in.
think it's
So-
between 3
Might
and
have been
5%.
East
Yeah.
Windsor.
Well, I think Windsor yesterday was 2.688,
Yeah.
668, one of those two. So everything I've read is high twos and threes.
Right.
Right. And I think the indication is that they basically kind of had to skinny up the budget last year, and they're trying
Right.
to make up.
And I'm not so sure you can make a town by town by town comparison on
Right.
something like this. And it's so I think that number will be scrutinized by the Board of Finance.
Okay.
We have got back also the estimates for July 1 healthcare and the increase. Overall, the increase, it works out to about 4.5%. So it's very,
Better than 9.
very small. Yeah,
Yeah.
way better
It was
than
9
9.
last year.
Well, it started at 20
I
last
know
year.
it did
So,
start at 20. They negotiated it down, but holy smokes.
so it's just over 4.
What is the percentage increase at the Board of Education?
They don't know. Their early estimate right now is 9. It's capped at 10, so it won't be any higher than that, but it could go as high as 10. But they don't have an actual number yet.
So from what I understand, from when I looked at the Board of Education budget, but again, this is the purview of the Board of Finance, there are a lot of fixed costs that
There are a lot of fixed costs with
There
everything.
are.
Yeah,
Absolutely, there are union agreements across the board.
yeah.
All right, I have a question now, Brian. When I look at these estimates, like the proposed, this is like a proposed budget. These are things that I'm beginning to think I'd like to discuss when we
Absolutely.
go through budget because
I mean, we
there are
could
some
discuss
things
them
I'm
right now
opposed
if you want
right
to.
now.
Oh, absolutely. We could discuss them whenever. That's what the.
Okay.
How
kinda what
up
the point of the
almost
meeting.
10%, Brian?
I'm sorry. What's that?
Skipping education, how's the town up 9.47%?
So a couple of the big things that you're seeing on the town side, fire is going. I mean, fire is a $80,000 increase with the ALS program. So while it looks like a large increase on the expense side, it is being offset by revenue. So it doesn't impact the tax base at all.
Because there's an anticipated
Right, because there's
revenue
anticipated
for having
revenue.
ALS.
The ambulance billing rates went up by the state.
And the
Yeah.
Even if we don't
ambulance
go
billing rates
ALS,
go up.
our ambulance billing revenue.
There
Yep.
you go. We'll make it back.
Public Works is up a little over 50,000. That's capturing the whole year of a transfer station that was approved by the voters last
Sure.
year. So, or back in August or September, October, whenever it was. So that's capturing an entire year. So you're seeing that increase. Again, benefits. I mean, it's going up $100,000 on the budget side. That's not only the health care, but that's Social Security. You know, with more employees, that 6.2% increases.
How many more employees do we have in the 2020 budget than we had in 19?
That's something we'd be discussing. I think if we put all these projections in.
One
some
or
of them I
two,
would
I
not
forget
approve.
exactly. I sent you the listing,
Yep.
in that.
Yeah, I didn't get it till today, so I haven't. had a
Yeah,
chance to look through
I
it.
know.
Um,
I want to say it's
didn't
not
get it
many
yet.
more. It's one or two. But you know, as salary goes up, so does 6.2%. While that stays flat, it's still 6.2% of salary. Human Services has an increase in it. That is, there was a youth services person added to that budget.
I have the reval in here.
Reval is on the third page, or no, I'm sorry. Reval is on the second page, yes, under miscellaneous. What you also will see there is contribution to OPEB, 157,447. While that impacts our expense side, it's a restricted fund balance. It's been in restriction for 10 years, give or take. So
That money
there's
was
no
That money was
increase.
designated
Yeah,
10
there's,
years ago.
there's also no revenue.
OPEB.
Yeah.
It's for the
other post-employment benefits. It's
for the Board of
Ed,
Education.
required under state statute. They offer supplemental insurance to retirees, not teachers, but people that work in the Board of Ed.
So 10 year.
Having that OPEB gives the town less of a financial exposure than paying for those expenses as we go.
Yep.
And under accounting rules, this is the first fiscal year where you're mandated to have an OPEB.
So it's a Board of Ed expense, but it shows up on the town.
It's going through the town because it's in the town's fund balance.
Right. So
But 157 of our increase here on the last page, is that OPEB
yes.
number? Okay.
Yes.
it
And
will
it's
be-
offset
and
on the revenue
it
side.
already exists.
Yeah, the money's already.
So the money will not enter into the tax base at all.
So on the revenue side, you would see an equivalent
We would like to
157.
not show it, but I've been told by the auditors that you have to show
Yeah,
it.
it has to be
You have to kind
shown.
of run it through the books for transparency. Because to show it only creates confusion amongst most people. So,
But again, it doesn't affect the tax base itself.
So we'll have to explain that clearly.
So while there's all of this increase that you see, the overall 1.7, my early estimates are still a zero tax increase, because with all of this and with revenues the way they're being, I'm not expecting anything to happen from any of this, because a lot of these are offset by revenue increases on the other side.
Is that something we can somehow illustrate estimated revenue to offset?
We
would-
will.
We
will
could actually
illustrate.
come up with a
Yep.
pro forma or some kind of a rate that this is what it would have been if we didn't have all these
Yes.
expenses offset by revenues.
Yeah.
This really
Okay.
is the real
4%
impact.
at the
Yeah.
time.
So we could show that.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think the key point here that Brian and Mike are mentioning is that we don't anticipate a tax increase.
Well, tax increase is one thing. The other is an increase in expenditures. So whether it's coming from the state or coming from the
Right.
town, I want to make sure we're not overspending.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sounds like,
Right.
it sounds like there's some expense growth, but not
Right.
Right, I mean, the-
9.4%.
That
So
one,
that's
that
a
157 will be the same number for the next 5 years, and then in 5 years that'll be
Goes
gone.
away.
So then,
We couldn't give it to them all in 1 year.
yeah,
It's a $700,000 balance, so we spread it over a 5-year
5 years.
period. The Board of
Yeah.
Finance agreed with that, so.
As a point of reference, our budget last year for the town was what it was 3 years prior to that. So there will be some increases.
But in terms of the town's financial health, what that does after 5 years is it creates a self-sustaining fund,
Yeah.
which will hardly need to be funded, whereas in the past, without it, it would have been growing year after year after year, $250,000, $300,000. So it's just creating a trust, just like you have a pension trust. It's a trust fund. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Additional comments, Brian?
I-
Again, this is a draft.
it's open for questions if
We'll
anybody
continue
has
to,
any.
No, not right now.
Define this.
I'm looking at it again. You'd
Yep.
sent that copy before.
Yep.
The detail's gonna be fun, you know. and
If
we
you would
got-
like detail, I'll email you the file. I didn't print it out, but I can email you a copy of
I would like
the
it.
detail.
I
Okay.
would like it.
I'll
Um,
email all you guys one.
Can I add can I move to have another, topic or another agenda item?
Sure. if you wanna
Ambulance.
Jump ahead of that.
I want, ambulance.
All right, here's what we have so far in terms of adding additional items. Approval from the Board of Selectmen for the resolutions on the high school oil tank, which is in your package. Discussion of the traffic issues on Shaker Road, which you had mentioned, Kathy. The sub-grant of $200,000, which is in your package. And Mr. George Roberts is going to make some comments. Any additional items we want to
Yeah.
add?
I want to have the
Yes,
ambulance.
tax collector.
Yeah, and the announcement for the tax collector. Okay, any additional items? Okay,
Want to move through those next then?
we'll do those next.
Do you need anything from us on the budget, or is it just
No,
information?
just information discussion. If you had questions,
Thanks.
open. I'll send you guys a detail, and hopefully next meeting, if you guys want to kind of hammer on some of the line
I
items,
do.
and we can go through that in the next meeting, and we'll pick apart each individual line item.
Even if you want to set up a special session.
Or if you want to have if you guys have
Special
time for a
meeting.
special meeting for
I
it,
would probably think we'd want to
Just
do
go
that.
through the whole thing.
Go
yeah,
through
we
the
can go
whole thing
through
if we
and just
could.
focus on that for one meeting.
Okay, the
We'll
first
open it up
item
to-
on the agenda items to be added is 10A in your package.
My God. That 10.
It's a note from Bill Botwell at the school. As part of the school construction grant application process for the SES oil tank project, the 3 attached resolutions are required to be approved by the Board of Selectmen. We plan to tackle this project this summer. The DAS is prescriptive regarding the wording of the resolution. The wording of the 3 resolutions is identical to the wording the Board of Selectmen approved a couple of years ago on the SES and SHS roof projects, except for the specific project title. Would you please add approval of these resolutions to the next Board of Selectmen agenda? Those resolutions are included, which I'll read. Resolved that the Town of Somers Board of Selectmen authorizes the Somers Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the oil tank replacement project at the Somers Elementary School. Number 2, resolved that the Somers Board of Education is hereby established as the building committee with regard to the oil tank replacement project project at the Summers Elementary School. And lastly, resolved that the Town of Summers Board of Selectmen hereby authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the oil tank replacement project at the Summers Elementary School.
I'm taking these one at a time.
Wait, right, go ahead.
So for the purpose of discussion, I'll make a motion that we resolve the Town of Summers Board of Selectmen authorize the Summers Board of Ed to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the oil tank replacement project at Summers Elementary School.
Second.
Okay.
So tell me about the
Additional
grant. Is it 100%,
The grant,
80%,
the project's
50%?
already been approved as a bond
Yeah,
project.
it's a bond project.
If they get the grant, then that's less money that we'll have to spend on bond. So if I know they're securing the grant, that'll be something that doesn't need to be spent on
Yeah,
bond.
we won't
It's-
have to-
it's
we won't have to go
already
to market
gone-
for that
It's already
portion.
gone through, in fact, it's gone through CIP at one point, but that's kind of irrelevant at this point. so.
And is this part of the bond that passed last year or
Yep.
before?
In
Yeah,
November.
so I mean, all they're looking for is, the state is looking for, the selectmen are authorizing them to apply for the grant.
So let's say we get a grant for, what's another 100,000, 200,000, 8 million, what's a rough number?
It's, the rough number is 190,000, or
On
180.
the replacement of it
For
was like
replace-
190. Yeah.
190, yeah.
So if we get a grant for some portion of that, let's say we get a grant for 100,000,
We
does
would
that
only go to
then-
market for 90.
So that reduces the amount that will then go out.
It'll
on
be
the bond?
applied toward it
Yes.
from the bond.
Yes.
So then I
So
can-
that would increase what's ever left in the bond pot. If another project goes over, then it could be used, you
But they
know.
aren't gonna add another project to.
No,
I
you
don't think
cannot
you
add
can.
anything
Can't add a
to
project.
it.
No, you
It's
can't
just
do that.
Perfect.
let's say there's another project that's an overrun, that their estimate was off
Yep,
base.
yep.
Then
They can use it to fund that, but-
And if no one has anything, then the town can take that money and use it to pay off debt service,
Okay.
apply it toward debt service.
So the citizens approved $6 million for the school, $4 million for the roads, but up to.
Yeah, up to.
Right.
What I don't wanna do though is, if the school's already identified those projects that went into that bond, add a surprise project on it, that,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
that's a,
The
yeah, they can't
appropriation
do
for
that.
this
Yep.
project has been approved
Right.
Very good.
through referendum vote.
okay,
All right, so I'm in favor of this one. Number one, your
you calling for a
motion.
vote?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
I say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'll do number two.
It's been a long week, bud.
It has been a
Do
long
the
week.
second one now.
I'll make a motion that we resolve the Summers Board of Ed is hereby establishes the building committee with regard to the oil tank replacement project at Summers Elementary School.
Second, question. This doesn't go under a grant, though. They're not applying for a grant for number 2 or 3.
All three of these have to
Three.
be are part of the grant.
They're the
Same grant.
This
Same
is just
grant.
naming them as the building
Yeah,
committee, gotta have a
you're
building
you're
committee to build the
authorizing them to act on behalf of the town and apply for this grant.
So the grant is, though it's not in the statement of the second resolution,
Right.
it's an umbrella over all of
Yes.
the, all right, that
Yeah.
was what I was questioning.
Yeah.
Because there's not that phrasing in there.
Yeah, I was confused when I got it. I'm like, Bill, what are they doing? Are they just making one motion and you need the minutes? So that's.
No, they're gonna need that in your minutes.
This is where you
Yes,
say
they
all
are.
in favor.
That's
I would-
what
I
just
know,
said.
Mr. Robert's Rules of Order.
You'll
All
just
in favor?
attach.
Aye.
Aye.
Right, additional discussion?
No, we already voted.
You already voted, aye.
Make sure you say I question that in case it
Next
doesn't
item.
go out that way.
Next item.
Make a motion that we resolve that the Town of Summers Board of Selectmen authorize at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the oil tank replacement project at the Summers Elementary School.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Additional discussion?
No, you do that before we vote.
We already voted. It's over.
Good, Kim?
Good.
All right.
Okay, the next item on the opportunity agenda items is the discussion of the traffic issues on Shaker Road.
Thank you.
And that would be 10B in the packet.
10B.
You're back.
Got the letter.
You recall we had Pat and Joe Carpe attend the last Board of Selectmen meeting, and they issued a concern regarding the traffic on Shaker Road, okay? sent this to Todd Rowland, Department of Public Works, and he responded accordingly, which is in your package. And I sent a letter to them thanking them for attending the Board of Selectmen meeting, as well as discussing their concerns about the truck traffic on Shaker Road. Please note the comments from our DPW director regarding the procedure we are required to follow to address this problem. We will discuss it at our next Board of Selectmen meeting on the
Right.
17th. So Todd, you want to?
Just a little background, all traffic regulations are regulated by the state Office of Traffic Control as part of DOT. We can't just put up signs that we want to. They all have to meet standards which are put out by Federal Highway, known as the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is signs, markings, lights, warning signals, anything like that has to go through a process. The state's process for specifically for truck prohibitions is that the Legal Traffic Authority, the Board of Selectmen in Summers, would make an application to the Office of State Traffic Control requesting that they investigate if we can erect truck prohibition signs and have truck prohibitions on Shaker Road. They'll investigate, they'll look at the amount of traffic on the road, the engineering of the road, if it's super elevated, the narrowness of the road. They will also look at if there is a viable alternative for trucks to go around. In other words, if we prohibit trucks from Shaker Road, are we forcing them somewhere else that would be worse, anywhere within the state? The other thing is they're going to interview Enfield. They're going to talk to Enfield and see what Enfield feels about it. Because if it's a road that abuts another town, both towns have to be in agreement for this truck prohibition, and then they'll issue a decision. In my experience, they don't issue these decisions lightly or very often, honestly. Shaker Road is a heavily used road. There are a lot of trucks, and I agree.
It's
a lot of them are dangerous, frankly. They go too fast, come around that blind corner
Way
at
too
Main
big.
Street, and there have been several accidents there.
And the fact that it's also part of Enfield as well as Summers, right?
Hmm.
Which complicates
It
this.
complicates it. I mean, trucks have a better way to go down where they're coming from. Mountain Brower is really where they're coming from, but it's a longer route for them. Whether Enfield will agree and what the DOT's decision would be, I don't know. Failing that, the only other recommendation I would have is we can put up signs that trucks are requested not to use this road. The challenge there is if they're coming from Enfield, by the time they get to Summers, they're
It's
already
true.
committed.
Not a
Yeah.
desirable
There's no
route.
way, and so that's why you kind of need both towns to be in agreement and erect the signs at the intersection, the four-way intersection in Enfield, so they don't start, because once they're committed, they're not going to turn around. There's nowhere for them to turn around.
We can
It's
certainly,
challenging.
I can certainly request this,
Yeah, absolutely, the traffic control
Yeah.
office, and
and we'll see what
See what
happens.
they say.
I'd like to make a motion that the local traffic authority send to the, request to the Office of State Traffic Administration regarding the possibility of a no-through trucks or weight restrictions on Shaker Road.
So for the sake of discussion, I'll second it. Got a couple of thoughts. Can we post a truck speed limit that's different than the car speed limit? Like,
that has to go through the
Same
same,
thing.
same body.
Same
We
Yeah.
can use the speed trailer though to gather info.
okay, and
Absolutely.
can we also, as part of that motion, ask to put signs up on 190 that say trucks no right turn if they're headed westbound and trucks no left turn if they're headed eastbound?
That's a state.
That would
I
only
should-
after, if this was approved.
Yeah.
And that's a state road, the state has to
Yeah.
put the signs up, we can't touch any state roads.
I think our first step would be is to ask for this request,
Yes, for
but
the
to
study.
put
Yeah.
with that request
Yeah.
the concerns that we have and be very specific about them, because this has been something that's been going on for over 20 years
Yeah.
and is getting worsened every single day, and I
And
didn't want to be on that street when it happened.
Somebody's gonna get clocked coming out of that development,
It is
or a
bad.
bike rider's gonna get run over, something's gonna happen,
Absolutely.
so.
I will write a strongly worded request.
It is bad.
Okay?
Yeah.
We'll go through the process.
Thank
It's
you.
complicated because of the two towns.
Wanna take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Um, Who do we reach out to in Enfield to just let them know we're talking about this?
Well, we go through the state, and they'll reach out to.
No, I
the state.
understand, but can we make a phone call to Enfield and say, hey?
Yeah,
we've got
I will
these
apprise the new
concerns?
director of it. I haven't met him yet, but we
Yeah,
I
that'd be
meet with the
good.
directors once a month for breakfast, so
Perfect,
I'll
just
reach out to
start
them.
the casual conversation so
Yeah.
they're not blindsided when the request comes from the
Yeah.
state. So they know we're working on it. That'd be great.
Well, they'll be notified by the state, and they have to comment.
And
put-
in the
get their
interim,
input.
Okay.
in the interim, Todd, can we place a requested not to sign just to start?
On the summer side, yeah.
No? Can't even place the requested?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You gotta go through the process.
I think
Okay.
we should
I
say that
recall
we've had
that
this
we tried
problem
that
so far.
before.
I think
Yeah.
the
Oh, I
best
thought I
thing is to
heard
get the
Todd
speed
say you
flow
can
up
put
to
up
start.
a charge
Yeah.
for requested not to.
Increase
We've
enforcement.
had it on Turnpike
I
Road.
heard that.
That's
you
week.
can't
You know, the
say
other
no.
thing to do, it might be
Right.
ask the truck team to come up and spend a week or
Let me
several
ask
days.
let me ask that question again, Todd,
That's
'cause
all.
Well, with an
three
extra
of us,
police car, we could probably do it.
three of us think that we heard you say that you can post a trucks are requested not to use the road.
After you go through this process,
Oh,
if this is
after- still after the
refused,
process, okay.
if the prohibition is refused, then as the legal traffic authority, as long as we're in the town of Summers right of way, we can post
Got
those
it.
signs. It would
Okay.
only be effective from Main Street, because,
Right.
again, if they're coming from
Correct.
Enfield, we can put it there, but it's kind of meaningless.
Right. Yeah, I have seen them in Suffield and other places. I don't know
Yeah.
how much good they do, but,
Well, it's
okay.
probably, they've gone through the process and there was a no, so this is
Okay.
the next thing to try.
Got
I
it.
think these truckers put it to GPS, and that's the
Yeah.
shortest way, and that's why they take it.
Well, after we go through this process, I can reach out to a lot of the GPS
We'll put a
companies
GPS jamming signal in
and
your new cop car and keep
and-
being
Well,
able
we're
to.
gonna put the speed
Give
trail,
you
we've had the
some-
speed trail on Turnpike Road for the past week, gathering data without, announcing people's speeds, and it's
Yep.
very interesting because you get, about 1,500 cars a day on that road, and everybody calls to complain they're speeding, and there's actually about 5% that are actually speeding, and it
Oh,
won't
nice.
tell you the exact times.
But this
where those
brings
are.
up a good point.
So
We can
we'll
put
do that on Shaker Road.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll get in touch base
If they
with
see
Todd.
that, maybe we can slow some of the speeds down.
Were you
We'll do that.
successful when you
Well,
did
and
it
you
on Hall
can
Hill
see
Road?
if
I
these
thought you
complaints that
might
you're
be.
getting are actually legitimate. Everybody
Right.
says that, but a lot of times when we get up there, it's
Right.
really not as bad as what people think. It's very, very small number anyway.
Not-
Okay, well,
But wasn't it successful to reduce the speed on Hall Hill Road, because it was quite a
could do
problem?
A lot of times, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you dig a big pothole in it somewhere?
Well, that's kind of Enfield solution,
if
you
you
know?
go to the Enfield side of the
It
road,
is.
that's
The
what they
Enfield
did.
part of the road's a
Don't
mess.
pave it.
Yeah. Downtown Baby.
Reverse speed bump.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the key thing is we're responding to the citizens' request, and we'll go through the process and
Yeah.
see what happens. Okay. The next opportunity agenda items is 10C in your packet. This is from Jeff Ford, the town engineer, requesting us passing a resolution authorizing the town to accept a sub-grant of $200,000 from the supplemental mill brownfield grant for the mill. I guess just a matter of,
I don't remember that.
we received the grant, but I wasn't aware of it.
This
You
is-
have to approve it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we have to get the resolution.
I didn't
It's
know
just
that.
part of their paperwork.
What is it? What's the sub-grant?
I don't know. I
It
just
was a
thought-
$200,000 CROG grant for work on the wall.
That's-
Oh, we did apply for that, and
Yes.
we did get approval
But
for it
I'm just taking care of the
That would have
paperwork
been
requirements for the grant.
before you were elected.
Okay.
So you need a resolution to do that.
Mhm.
It's
So in
called-
order to accept it,
called
we have to,
Administrative,
Yeah.
Yep.
whatever.
Go ahead, Kathy.
so, do we have a resolution?
That's what they're asking us for.
That's
I'll
what
just
you're
put it
gonna
in the
make. You're
minutes.
gonna
I'll
make
get it from him and.
I would
accept
appreciate
the
it if you
resolution.
could get a resolution and we bring this up and authorize it so the town can use that 200,000 at the mill.
Yeah.
So
We
you're gonna
can't-
table it to the next meeting?
I think we should table it.
Okay.
Okay.
Any risk of us not keeping the money if we table it?
I
to 2 weeks?
don't think so.
I mean,
'cause-
No, it's
no,
just
there's no
paperwork for
risk.
CROG.
We do have until, I want to say it's the end of September, though,
Yeah.
that the money has to get spent.
But the problem was that we, in the beginning, were about one of the only people that applied for these CROG grants. And then it
I'm
just,
surprised.
I know, and then it kept dropping, the numbers kept dropping down. We
Okay.
wanted
Yeah.
more than this, but we'll take it because we can do something with the
We've been
grading.
pretty successful getting the amount
Yeah.
of grants for this project, so we'll table it until we get the resolution. And, Mike, you wanna make an announcement?
Yeah,
Tax
our
collector?
tax collector, Sherry says, has tendered her resignation. It's for personal reasons. There's no timetable on when she's going to leave. She will stay on until a replacement is hired, and she will assist in the transition for that replacement. That job was posted the next day. And we've already gotten a number of applicants for the position, all of whom are certified, which is very encouraging. So where we plan to go from here is a two-tiered interview process. The first cut will be amongst a staff group. We'll conduct preliminary interviews. 3 final candidates will be identified, and then according to town charter,
Yes, have a
a
committee.
committee will convene made up of 1 member of the Board of Selectmen, 1 member of the Board of Finance, the CFO, and a person with real estate appraisal, believe it or not, that's what it's called for.
Yeah.
So the 4-member committee, I've already reached out to a number of people, but we have not finalized that list of names. When we do, we'll let you know. They will interview the final 3 candidates and make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen as to who to appoint. And I guess the way that would work would be who to fill out the remainder of the tax collector's existing term would be the appointment.
Don't you appoint them every 2 years?
Is
Yeah,
your
you do.
appointment up this year?
Yeah,
We're in no.
September it would be due.
Oh, September,
It's-
okay.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
Is
'cause
this
you guys
September?
were-
We're due in April,
I
and
thought
she's
we were
due in
halfway. I
September.
thought we were halfway.
Oh,
through.
he's in April.
He's in April.
right.
She's
I
in
knew
We
it was
already
the
September.
same
approved
year.
you, you're all
Okay.
safe.
I'm okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's due again in April.
Yeah.
Why?
It's been 2 years.
Yeah, we were
No,
a
it's
year
just-
behind at that point.
Oh, yeah,
What time do you have to
so
get
we're
to
getting
CIP?
back on track.
Yeah.
So Mike,
Well, they're coming here, so,
before your approval
And
comes
Walter
out,
too
make sure you,
now, right?
yeah.
He's a lifetime
Yeah.
appointment.
you know, so.
Oh, it
He
is?
doesn't have to be
Oh,
reappointed.
that's good.
So I would like to make a public statement about Sherry. She's been a superb employee, in my opinion. She's really helped in terms of productivity of that office, and we're sorry to see her leave, but we wish her the best.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good opportunity for us to hire somebody new, change the culture, so to speak, and
Yeah.
maybe even upgrade.
Now,
See.
does protocol require us to tonight accept that resignation pending upon?
I don't have anything in writing yet, so I would think I would get her to
Send a letter.
submit a
Would have to be
letter.
in writing, but by protocol we should
And
have
first to
something.
Bud, and then I believe Bud would bring it to you guys.
Okay. All right. Mr. Roberts?
Yes. It's kind of a coincidence, because I was here about Shaker Road myself. I didn't realize the cart base came. I actually addressed this issue with the previous administration about four years ago. And I got the same, pretty much the same thing, where it's a state traffic control issue.
Did anybody follow up on that?
Went nowhere. Went nowhere only because of, as Todd said, the difficulties and the odds of it happening. It was kind of a defeatist attitude. So about 6 months ago, I planned to come here about 6 months ago and talk about it, but kind of got tied up for some other issues. The biggest issue is as the trucks turn from 190 onto Shaker Road. Okay, that's the biggest issue. They always cross that yellow line. If you were to have someone in a police car or a plane car, ticket everybody to cross the road, you'd have no financial issues in this town again.
I agree.
Okay, and that's the truth. That's no exaggeration. You painted the lines on that road, and they're all worn out at the corner where the White House is. Okay,
It's very
they
dangerous.
constantly cross the road, and they cross the road at a big speed. I've been pushed over to the grass a couple of times myself. We've had this discussion at the. I live in Summers Village. We've had this discussion at our board meetings about this issue. I'm glad the car base came, just to show that there's somebody else that really moved to the effort and
Yeah,
come.
we can move downstairs.
I think we'll just move downstairs.
A while ago, I was in, and I don't know if it's East Windsor or South Windsor, but it was in one of those
Downstairs.
small roads, okay?
This guy's
And I saw
very
this sign where it says trucks requested not to use this road for order of the Board of Selectmen. I would really like to see this on the corner as you turn into Shaker Road. The only reason why I would really like to see this, even though it probably won't do any good, is when there's an accident. because it's gonna happen, a big one,
I think it is.
with a tractor trailer, and one of the people from Summers Village, and we're a little older, I'm one of the younger crowd. We have some people that are in their 80s, okay? Late 70s, 80s, we even have a couple in the 90s. We don't want these people getting hurt.
No, we don't
And
wanna
Todd,
do
that sign can only go up after they
We
deny
should go
us.
through the process of
Yeah.
writing the letter
Okay.
requesting the
Now,
DOT.
here's the thing.
After that. if
Here's
they
the
say
thing.
no.
I'm going to disagree with that, Todd. And I'm going to say because there's no other state-controlled STC sign in the areas. And there's a number of these signs up, and it says per Board of Selectmen, not the STC.
But are they legal?
No.
Doesn't matter.
Well, it
No,
does.
no, no, no. Well, to me, it doesn't matter, and I'll
Well,
tell
to
you
you it
why.
doesn't, I get that,
I'll
but
tell you
for
why.
the town it does.
Because it's a warning. It's a warning. And when something happens, at least it's there to help us.
We gotta do stuff.
If it doesn't follow, I hear you, George, and I
Yeah,
agree.
we agree.
But if it doesn't follow the process,
Well, why
it's
do
an illegal sign.
why do they have, that's near the East Windsor, South
A
Windsor.
lot of
line.
towns don't understand, and historically, it used to be you requested it of the Board of Selectmen or First Selectmen, we just go put out signs. That changed in 2009 when we adopted the MUTCD throughout Connecticut.
Yeah,
It
those
has
are
to
the
go
worst
through
signs,
this
so.
process, and it has to go through
If you
the.
look at a lot of signs, you'll see on them, they'll say SPC
SPC,
signs.
I know that, yeah, I'm well aware.
And
But
they gotta go
that
around and put
doesn't
stickers on
identify
town
it
signs
as an
that do that,
SDC
that were
sign.
approved.
That doesn't identify as an SDC.
But the Board of
It's not
Selectmen
yellow.
in
That
that
means it's
town is
illegal.
probably the legal traffic control
Correct.
for the town. On a town road, as long as the signs are meeting the MUTCD and they meet the requirements, the Board of Selectmen, as the legal traffic control authority of the town, can order the signs put up. The STC doesn't get involved, as long as it meets the town's requirements. In this case, specifically, no through trucks
Okay.
is a hot issue. STC gets involved in all of those cases. They
Okay.
have determined that because it's such an issue, that they will get involved. It's been 20 years, I'm just suggesting we go through the process. They're
Yes.
pretty responsive.
I totally.
And if
I
the
appreciate
answer
you
is
going
no,
through
I'll be
that.
the first one here requesting to put up some signs.
Let me ask
just
you a
like
question.
that.
Can we put up a sign, say caution, reduce speed, sharp turn ahead?
Not unless you.
I wouldn't do anything
It's
until I
not-
do a submission.
You're
If it
coming
was
off of a
County
stop
Road or
intersection.
Somerset Drive.
And
or
there are
something like
warning
that,
signs
yes.
where appropriate, but
Yeah, but most
don't
of
drive,
most-
you know, I mean, to put up a sign, slow down. I
The,
mean,
the issue is, Todd,
go the
is
speed limit.
when they go through the green light.
Yeah,
When a guy stops at a red light, he's going a whole lot slower,
Right.
he's a little more careful.
he's trying to make the
When
corner
he
for
goes through
green,
the
I
green light,
understand.
that's an issue.
And that comes down to really enforcement and maybe truck teams.
Well, that was my next question. Enforcement, I'd appreciate if somebody did something. Also, at that corner,
Mhm.
okay, where it might be an optical illusion, but it looks like that road narrows up.
Oh, when it goes by the White House,
It
yeah.
is not as
It's
wide.
tight, yeah.
Is that road a legit width
Mm.
for,
I don't know,
there are regulations for width of road.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that wide enough to be an actual?
Well, there's regulations for width of road today.
Yeah,
When these roads in Summers were built, there weren't any, and a lot of them are, they were cow paths that grew up into roads
Right,
over
right.
time. This is Shaker Road's an old road.
right.
If we went by DOT engineering standards, it would have to be widened if we were
Okay.
to do something.
All right,
That gets into property rights stuff, because the White House is right there,
right.
and the property line on the other side is right there. There's not a lot of room to do anything there, so we end up taking the house or something.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
okay.
long legal, hey, I'm with you, if that house weren't there and we could straighten that intersection out, no one would be happier than me. But that gets into buying the house, or going through the courts,
Right.
and that's a much longer process.
George, I'll make a personal commitment to you. I'll write a very strong letter
Yeah.
to the state. I'll address the safety issues and the concerns of the citizens, the potential for catastrophic accident. And we'll reach out to our counterpart in Enfield. Let's start the process. I won't let it die.
Now, as you go down Shaker Road, between the corner and Summers Village, you're gonna see that the right-hand side of that road has
Yeah.
deteriorated greatly.
It's
It's
where.
breaking
That's on
apart.
the list for, as part of the bonding package, to do some remediation and resurfacing.
Well, I mean, you know, less than truck traffic, you're not
Yeah.
gonna have that.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
should
Bring
stick a
some
traffic
other
circle in.
those trucks destroy the road.
Well, yeah,
Get rid of
but
that
I
house
mean,
over
if,
there.
I mean, it's real, I mean,
Lots
it's,
of traffic.
there is a section, right, you know, where, you know, the wheels go, it's destroyed that road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's increased in the last few years
Yeah.
dramatically, truck
Yeah.
traffic.
That should be cool.
Yeah.
But, to be honest with you, if all you can do at this point is enforcement,
We'll get out there.
I would love it.
Can we put
I
stop
would love
signs up on Shaker Road?
Oh.
No,
That's
that's-
another problem.
All right.
No, we will, I'll get with Todd and we'll.
That's illegal, we went
we
through
will
that on Hamden.
get the speed
Road.
trail out
I
there,
mean,
get a
the
bunch
other
of
thing is
data.
too, is when you're in
and,
front of a
get some
truck,
enforcement out there.
they don't like to
and,
go slow, and
We'll, get that up quick. I
as you
gotta get
turn
out to
right
another
into
meeting.
Summers Village, you
Right.
have to slow a
Thanks.
lot, the way that it's curved in. From the other side, you can come in a little faster, but as you turn right into it, and you got a truck coming down the hill after you, yeah, I'm just saying, it's, you know, hey, listen, I've lived there 12 years in April, and I've had a lot of this crap where, you know, you're avoiding the trucks.
Yeah. So, the prior administration didn't follow up on this.
That's correct. That's
We
correct.
will.
That's
We'll
correct.
go through the process, I'll
That's
keep you
right.
advised.
Okay.
All right, George.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you, George.
I'm not through yet. I didn't get my agenda item yet.
Take it.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Yours is next.
Can I go next?
Yeah, absolutely.
This ambulance has me a little bit nervous because we did ask for some help from our state senator and state rep, and it never happened. Well, I think with what's going on, we really need, with all the visits to the prison, we need some help there. Well, I got a letter today. I didn't get anything from the town because of our email problem, but did you get the one from John Kissel today?
I just saw that, you sent it to me. It just
John
came in late.
Kissel said he's going to meet with all the other folks at the Senate meetings or whatever they are. What issues and concerns do you have in your town?
Yeah, Bud sent me that 2 days ago, and I said I'd like to see the ECS grant and the pilot grant fully funded.
Right, and I addressed it at yesterday's cost meeting.
Okay.
I just sent a note out, basically,
But I
summarizing,
also
but not
think
the
we should
ambulance.
bring this issue up again, because the number of visits that we're going to make to the prison as they age more will be increasing. And we're putting our own residents probably in a wait system once or twice. I'm not sure it would happen because you're very diligent about what you do. But at the same
Yeah.
point, I think we should really go for that, either that or I know Joe Courtney's staff sent information about using USDA, and he would help to advocate for that
So we
ambulance.
looked at some things. U.S. Department of Agriculture, all of their cutoffs are 10,000 people, population. And Summers is over 10,000. So we did look at that. We looked at the Fire Act grant. It's rated as a low priority, and they don't fund low priorities. The only point I want to make judiciously is that we do bill for ambulance transports. Every prisoner is automatically insured, so it's 100% guaranteed payment
From the ambulance.
for the ambulance, for the state. And if you do the math out, it is a significant revenue generator.
So
for
we
the
can
town.
afford to buy an ambulance out of the
They are
ambulance fund.
they are very much supporting our ALS program with the revenues that they are contributing.
So hear what he's saying?
I understand what you're
All
saying.
right,
I'm
so
not trying to
I'm
say
gonna go
no.
back and say, why are we parking a police car at the school for an SRO when we could lease an ambulance with the same $50,000? To me,
Well, the ambulance
we're
is-
not stepping back and doing good planning here. We're responding to requests that make no sense. I don't understand why we're gonna park a police car at a school. It makes no sense to me. If they've gotta respond and there's somebody already there, hop in the car with them and go. But to me, the ambulance would take precedent over parking a car at the school.
And the ambulance is
Time
already
out,
part
though.
of a CIP
Yeah.
program.
Whatever.
Time out there is though, these same SROs are not just SROs, they're working other shifts, and that's where
The patrol.
they're not they can't do
I
the patrol.
have never seen 5 police cars on patrol in Summers in my entire life.
Okay.
Enough on the police car.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we've got a small pot of money to work with. I would rather put money into a lease for an ambulance to address the needs of the residents than
I
to
think
park a car
yeah.
somewhere or park a truck somewhere or park something else.
I think the police car fell at the wayside when the whole Jose thing happened.
Exactly.
Too. And the schedule for CIP for police cars is that, so, and the way they do it, everything gets pushed off. Like,
I'm not
Brian
opposed
has
to
a
them having
schedule.
cars. I'm opposed to the fact that we didn't plan for them to have a car, and now we have a need for.
Well, I
resources
think that there was
somehow we
a
gotta-
problem. You said even
Timing
2 years
issue,
ago
yeah.
that.
Well, 2 years ago, it was in there.
Right, and it got taken
Unbeknownst
out.
to these two
It was in there.
selectmen,
That's
the
the
first
point.
selectman took it out.
Yes. And because
Then
And
what did we
that's-
do last year?
well, we didn't have two SROs
We didn't
either.
have
We had
two
a state
SROs.
police guy at the school.
We
So,
had a police car to do it, a state police car.
Great.
But I'm not gonna go there anymore. I wanna talk right now about this ambulance and how we might be able to do it. And I think maybe we need to talk to, capital improvement, because
Yeah, that
if
has
we
to
can
happen.
prove that the return on investment is going to be there.
Correct. We did. Brian and I have already done the math, and the ambulances are. So we have 2 ambulances right now. The goal is we'd like to keep them for 10 years. The goal is to stagger them so we buy one every 5 years. And the ambulance billing revenue, even today at the BLS level, take ALS completely out of the picture. But even doing what we do today at the BLS level, the BLS transports, there's more than enough money coming into that fund to pay for both the ambulance and the money that they move into to offset the fire department every
So
year.
it's about $300,000
That's
for an
amazing.
ambulance,
Because
right?
this
Correct.
is all news to me. Because in the past, when we came in at this budget season, we were told every 3 years. You're telling me 5. That's fabulous.
So
That
it's
makes me
2 ambulances for
feel-
10 years. So it's every 5 years we replace the ambulance.
Of course, the cost has gone up significantly too.
But we looked at the price of the ambulance. They've gone up, but we're also doing the ambulance turnkey. The last time they put in for an ambulance, and then they put in a separate line item for the
Oh,
stretcher,
God, that
and a
was
separate line
terrible.
item for the radios, and a
That
separate
was
line item for the
terrible.
power loader. And we're trying to just say this is what
Everything
this is
at
what the
one
ambulance is
time.
going to cost when
That
to
was
park it
so
in the door.
confusing.
So we're just doing turnkey this time, and it's just going to be so it'll be $300,000
That's awesome.
for the ambulance. The last time it was $245 plus $20,000 for the loader, plus $5,000 for the stretcher, plus $7,000 for the radios. So it was like $260 something like that. Nowadays the ambulance is going from $265 5 years ago to about $285. And they're saying with the tariffs and the materials costs, budget $300.
All right, so I want to ask you one more question.
But that'll be for the 2020 budget.
You said that the USDA
Grant is for
grant is
10,000 or below.
10,000. But if we include the prisoners that we have to measure, do we get to 10,000?
Yes,
We're over
we're over
10,000.
10,000. They go by the U.S.
You
Census
gotta be
numbers.
smaller than
So we
10,000.
have to be.
11,437 citizens.
But if we're, what I'm getting at is though, we're including them, but do we
Correct.
have to include them in the
Yes.
census?
Yes, they're in the
Yeah,
exclusive
right.
gated community at the north end of town. Not a prison.
It gets us free milk. That's about it, though.
So if I recall, John, I think the total calls between the prison and Woodcrest is about 24%. Is that about
24% of our total costs.
24% of our total.
Last year we did, so just ballpark numbers. Last year we did 140 calls at the prison, and an average prison transport is almost $1,000. You're making almost $140,000 a year off of that.
Which, again, I'll agree with,
Correct.
but adding another ambulance does not mean that we're gonna add more calls.
No,
No.
no, we're not adding an ambulance.
So
We're
there's
replacing.
X amount of dollars coming in today, we're gonna have the same amount of dollars coming in
Correct.
tomorrow with the extra expense of an ambulance that we've gotta figure out how to pay for.
And this is just this is part of.
Yep.
We're not adding an ambulance this year. We are
Right.
You're gonna
replacing
plan-
the one that's due for replacement.
Yeah.
The only thing that we are doing a little bit different this year is because of when they had the accident before.
Yep.
The ambulances were supposed to be 5 years apart.
Oh, yeah,
They got
okay.
moved closer together, so I'm replacing one ambulance when it's 9.5 as opposed to when it's 10.5.
All right.
Okay. I feel better. I just wanted more information, and I.
So in the CIP request, we did request an ambulance, but it's to replace one that's going to be 9.5 years old when it gets replaced as part of the normal
But
cycle.
ideally, we'd like to see the fleet go from 2 to 3, right?
Wow.
Correct, but that won't be for. My
Couple
thought
years.
was actually probably not for another 5 years.
Okay.
And my thought was is when the next ambulance comes due, we would still buy one at 5 years,
Mhm.
but then as opposed to trading in, we would just sit on it.
Okay.
And the beauty here is we have the revenue to offset these costs.
Correct.
Still
All right.
go through CIP.
It makes me feel better.
replace the one.
Correct.
Yeah, just replacement, we're not
Yeah,
adding.
no, that's great.
We're not adding to the fleet. We're
Yep.
just replacing one
Okay.
for one.
Okay.
And actually, our state license is only for the 2 ambulances, so
You know,
it would be a whole other multi-year process to get
Oh,
another ambulance.
Okay.
your comments are probably legit, because as the population ages in this town, certainly the population ages at the prison, the calls will go up.
Yes,
If you look at the average age of those prisoners, and the demand for services,
it is going up.
yeah.
Um,
So I don't know.
so, but we do have to.
Don't
We're,
say.
we're,
I won't. I'd say.
correct, but we're having to balance that with it is a revenue generator for the town, so we don't want to get to the point where the prisons go, oh, you don't want it, we're going to contract all of them to another third-party provider, and then we
Right.
lose that revenue stream
If
that,
you recall,
that we are using.
If you recall,
Yeah.
we pushed hard with the Department of Corrections in this regard.
Well, I do like the idea of the fully funded. I'm glad you went that way with the request to John Kissel, because that hurts us if you
Yeah.
budget around that and then it doesn't come through, and then everybody else thinks we're just hiding it, but it's not true. We just didn't get it. It's an appropriation versus a real payment. So
Right.
let's do the right thing. All right. Thank you very much
The
for
bigger
that
issue of the
information.
fire protection.
Okay, the last item before we approve
Because it's not ours.
scheduled payments are the correction of the minutes.
Okay.
And,
There was one correction that we had to make on that,
Number 9, right here,
January 3rd.
approvals.
January 3rd.
There was actually a couple. Mike had there was a number. He emailed me, but
Let's see if I got it.
I think you guys all have it. I'm not sure.
I'm sure that. Here it is there. It's number 9.
Yeah, 43,000.
No. Mike Marinaccio reported the.
well,
pilot-
let's do this. Let's make a motion to accept the minutes, then we'll have the discussion to do the corrections.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from Thursday, January 3rd.
Okay.
Got it.
All in favor?
No? You want to
No.
second it, Kathy?
But I'd like to make the following correction.
Right, second,
Yeah.
and then we go to
Second.
discussion.
Yeah,
Right.
now we go to discussion.
Yep.
All right, so, we should approve the numbers, where Mr. Marinaccio's pilot payment for Woodcrest, it's increasing to $43,108 from $33,318.
Yep.
Based on the most recent computation by the assessor. Okay.
Right, and then, I believe there would be another one in here indicating that there was an error based on a resignation. It was
Or
Mr. Van
Tassel, not
Tassel,
Van
Fantastic,
Wingerden.
right?
but it was Mr. Van Wingerden
Yeah.
who was the one that was,
Yeah, that was my error.
yes,
No.
Van
So-
Tassel was resigning, Van Wingerden was not.
Correct.
Right.
Correct?
correct.
Okay.
I mentioned too many bands.
So I should, it's like having too many ambulances.
So
Yeah.
now I would,
I will amend my motion to accept the corrections as proposed by Mrs. Devlin.
thank you.
What about emails?
Favor?
What's
Aye.
Ann's thing?
Her aunt, she commented that you had a discussion regarding
Performance appraisals.
performance appraisals and job.
Description.
Job,
I don't know.
job,
She
no,
mentioned.
it wasn't job, it was, job duties.
Okay, she just mentioned.
You
that.
shouldn't have to
Yeah.
put that in your minutes anymore, is what she says, right?
There it is.
No, she said you should add it to your minutes because you discussed it.
No, we didn't.
We didn't
I didn't
discuss
say I
it.
discussed it. I said I noticed it. I happened to notice when I looked through the chart
Oh,
of
okay.
appointments afterwards that there was no Van Wingerden on the
No,
ZBA.
no.
Oh no, that was.
No,
So-
she's talking about this.
But Mrs. Logan should know, we said that we should be doing that in the future as we're going through appraisals. It had nothing to do that we ever had any discussion.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch it.
There was
so
no
I
discussion.
apologize.
So where she says, I personally don't believe the inclusion of something which occurred after the meeting, that was just my note.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm
putting
sorry.
the minutes
I didn't,
together-
Didn't understand.
Yeah, and putting the
so-
minutes together, that's why it's in italic and indented.
Okay. Okay.
This was
okay.
just an
Okay.
observation I
was-
made that I was like,
okay.
hey, you know what?
I didn't know what she was.
Following the meeting. Yeah, there was no discussion.
Okay.
It was just
We had
me
no
looking.
It confused
I
me.
looked at the list of
Okay.
appointments because I was looking to make sure I
Yes.
had people's names spelled correctly.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I noticed there was no Van Wingerden on the on whatever
Oh, okay.
on the
Because
zoning
I was
board of
confused.
appeals. So it was just
Okay.
there was
We
not
had
a
no
discussion.
meeting after the meeting.
Okay.
There was no
We
discussion.
left with Jackie.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
This
That's
was just an
fine.
editorial comment by the guy trying to type up what he thought he heard. So fire me. I dare you.
I don't
We'll
know.
cut your
I mean,
Oh,
it's
you're gonna-
secretarial pay.
My secretarial pay has been diminished. No, there was no discussion. It was
Okay.
just
That's it, huh?
observation by me as the minutes recorder.
No, approval of the minutes that,
Fine.
Oh, do we have to take a vote on that? Let's vote.
yes.
We're approving them? All in
Thank you
favor?
for taking the
Aye.
minutes, by the way.
Aye.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do it again. If I'm gonna get criticized,
No,
I'm
I'm
hurt.
not criticizing.
Deeply hurt
I
Okay.
know.
and offended.
Number
personally,
9,
professionally.
number 9 was approvals.
So-
Yes,
These are
sir.
for the minutes of November 20th.
That's like 8 pages long because that was
November
that big
20th.
meeting,
Right.
and it's all
We didn't approve those before?
no.
Okay.
No.
December the
That-
This is
Third.
the one where we did the holiday
Yeah.
schedule.
Oh,
Now
yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
questions
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
There's
Right.
no,
November
it's
20th,
fine.
December
It's
the
fine. That
3rd.
was.
December the 13th.
I have to take a picture of you 3 too before
Yeah.
you leave today. I want an
And
updated one.
December 13th, that's it.
What? It's for the magazine. The Selectman's Corner.
We didn't approve these already for
No.
the,
I
for
swear
the
we did.
December
No, I
13th?
went through all the minutes, so I didn't see it. No, because you approved a whole bunch before that. So remember at the meeting, because it was a special meeting?
I'll believe you.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can't approve minutes at a special meeting apparently, so.
Actually, I thought we had approved that was the public hearing,
We,
right?
right, but then
That's
there was,
supposed to be Ann Logan's job, no? To do the public, or was it a special meeting, not a public
it
hearing?
was just a
Well,
regular.
I say we just sell the whole dang town to Enfield and get it run right.
And we get our own signs up on Shaker Road.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve any of the minutes that weren't previously approved.
Thank you.
Blah, blah, blah.
Which is right here.
Kathy? Yeah,
I second it.
Thank you.
I'll give you the dates if you
Aye.
want them.
Aye, we
I
already-
have 'em.
We already have those.
Thank you.
You're out
Last
of it.
item is approval of scheduled payments.
Wait a minute, you had a correspondence thing on here, number 3.
Well,
Do you want to do that?
I put it on there, but he added on the opportunity to add agenda items. Oh, maybe that, okay.
No, there's number
You're
3.
right.
We missed number 3, bud.
Yeah.
Can we go back to number 3 on the agenda?
Number 3 is
Correspondence.
Correspondence from the Director of East Windsor.
She's a very nice lady.
you're talking about the Fort-Town Fair.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will read this. Dear Mr. Knorr, as you're aware, the Fort-Town Fair is a nonprofit entity associated with the town of Somers, Enfield, Ellington, and East Windsor. With the added costs associated with the infrastructure of the fairgrounds, all contribution or in-kind services are appreciated. We are requesting an annual contribution from the town of Somers to help defray costs of maintaining the infrastructure. We look forward to another great community event for 2019. We encourage the 4 towns, Somers, Enfield, Ellington, and East Windsor, to participate in any way possible. This will be a great opportunity for the 4 towns to get acquainted with the community and any scheduled events. We have committed to ensure that seniors and children's school tours in our town will be invited to attend the 2019 Fort-Town Fair free of charge on Friday, Senior Day, prior to our opening to the public. We will be open only to seniors and children's school trips for free from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. A vendor will be open to serve food to attendees. All vendors are limited until our regular scheduled time of operation. We are encouraging our seniors to enter their baking, floral, or architectural, agricultural, talents, or any of our exhibited categories offered on our website. All entries can be downloaded for their convenience. We would like to also encourage the schools to exhibit group projects for science, social studies, health, safety, art, music, creative writing, original ideas created by your class, listed on our website above. Would you please bring this consideration to the Summers Board at your next meeting? I'm also willing to make a presentation to your board regarding this issue and other options available. I would also like to attend your public meeting for any concerns or questions that may arise. Please contact Maria Lehrer, Director of East Windsor, or email at your earliest convenience.
I spoke to her today. She called me. She's out of town.
Now,
and
she had indicated
she's actually
to me-
looking for us to add a line item to our budget for contribution.
To what level?
I don't know.
I-
She didn't say.
I will be very honest with you. Way back, I'm going to say, I don't know how many. Before Mrs. Pellegrini was a selectman, we had some line items in there, and then our town attorney told us that you cannot and you should not be requiring money for various organizations, because we used to do a couple of charities,
Mhm.
and he said, that's not your business to do. It cannot be there. If we choose to do something in kind that we can help them with, it would be more advantageous than it would be to actually tax our people
Yeah.
on a charity.
Oh, good point. Well, I think
When she visited with me, she indicated that Enfield had contributed $4,995. East Windsor through trash and sanitation, $8,800 plus $1,000. Ellington zero, and Summer zero. But I'm glad the chief's here because we do contribute in terms of
Our services.
EMT.
services and consideration.
We charge now, but I know like the parade, all the police, they don't charge for the police
Right.
for
Right.
the parade and some of that stuff.
So in effect, we are making a contribution in terms of services in kind.
Well, and it's just something to consider down the road if there's somewhere else to go. But it made so much sense to me back then. It was when Ernie Alsop and I were both on the board. And the attorney said, I don't think that's the way you go about doing business, that you tax your people because you're doing a fund. They have the, if they want to contribute to that organization, they can do so, but you
Sure.
can't do it for them, and you shouldn't be doing it with their tax
Makes
money.
sense to me. Absolutely.
So we'll have to
Okay.
look at it another way,
Okay.
that's my point. And there could be some other options,
Yeah, sure.
if we're creative enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Additional discussion?
No? I don't have.
Well, there's no motion. so-
We don't have to have a
Without
motion
draft,
on that.
yeah, no.
I do have a motion now, though.
You too.
Yes. I move to approve payment in the amount of $227,739.75 as recommended by the CFO.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna sign that.
So in the next edition for the magazine, I just wanted to let you know that I put a little blurb in there under the Selectman's Corner, the need for people to volunteer under boards and commissions, and I put a list and the vacancy and the term.
Oh, boy. We didn't close out yet, did we?
No.
Oh, 'cause
No.
then I have to bring up something.
No. So I just wanted to let you know that's
Right.
in there, and hopefully we'll get some
Good. Yeah.
bodies and
Because,
some interest.
Just for your,
Thank you.
both of you, the Economic Development Commission is really in need of good members. And Rick Cheney said to me, it's really falling apart because there's one that had to leave because he's no longer resident in town. Somebody else resigned.
Well, there's like 10 boards and commissions that are like hurting right now.
And we
Can't
don't
get
have, we
quorum.
don't have alternates on planning.
Conservation's
Conservation's-
suffering.
and so-
WPCA is going to be suffering. Cause,
Yeah, that's right, because he resigned.
well, and a couple other people are, you know.
Yeah.
We made an appeal on the Wicked Good News
Yeah.
publication.
And I
People
also
step
think
up.
that it would be a good thing to do, I don't know how you, can you do it under community news, that you're looking for volunteers to serve on
Put it on the
committees?
website, right?
Well, I can put it in, yeah, it's on the website, it's on Facebook. Ann posted it there, and she put both political parties as well. You know, reached out to them with an email, you know, saying, this is what I did, you know, help.
What you might
You
want to
know?
consider is getting a little more specific, because asking everybody to help somewhere is white
Well-
noise. So I mean, if you put an article in this issue of the magazine specific about economic development, what they do, and what the skill set is we're looking for, it might be more appealing to 3 or 4
I
people.
understand that. I know it's just like everybody's like. Even I talked to Greg Genlott. He's just like, we're hurting, you know.
Everybody's hurting.
Everybody's hurting. Everybody's coming to me. Steve Jacobs. He sent letters to both David Pinney
And
and
the
Tim
Rotary Club,
Keeney, you know,
begging.
pleading. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
somebody.
Fire department can't get members either.
It's
right now,
just
volunteers.
it's so.
It's getting more difficult to get volunteers.
It is. And I
People are more
understand
involved
people
in
are
other
busy.
things,
I get
but
that. You know.
But, you know, as a credit to both of you, I mean, you guys are all involved, you work full-time, I mean, you spend the time and the effort. I would hope that some of the citizens in this town would
I
step
even
up,
asked him.
because it's democracy. We need their talent, and we need their involvement,
Yeah.
we need their contributions.
Well, we-
So,
Just don't know what to do.
it might be, I think Tim's got a good idea.
He
though.
does, and I can.
Have each chairperson write
Have
just a
them
little
write it
snippet
up.
about what it is that they want, and
Okay.
rotate
good.
those on the website, and just do a
Yeah.
spotlight section,
Okay.
like every couple of weeks,
Yeah.
just change the spotlights on fire department, here's what
Yeah.
the fire department's looking for.
Yeah.
Here's the calls we served, here's the people we served. People who wanna help others that read about an opportunity to be trained
Yeah.
and get a
I
fulfilling
think
role
that's a great
working under
idea.
John is a different thing than, oh my gosh, I hope somebody signs up to help us with something. Cause I don't know
Yeah.
what that means, but if you tell me that I get to
Right.
be part of something huge that John's working on, then
Yeah.
it's gonna
it's
be
a good
appealing.
point. We can do a better job of communicating
And
that.
just flip it every couple of weeks on the
Yeah,
website.
I will. That's great. And I just put a general blurb in there and put, what vacancies we have and
Yep.
to reach out to or attend a meeting and talk to the chairperson
And
of an
even-
interest that you have.
Even like, John, interview one of the people, or have one of the people that's on your staff talk about what it means to them. to be
Right.
We're talking the
So
next
we're gonna
newsletter.
do that
Yeah,
next.
just a
So
little promo.
This one.
Megan, so we found, we've been using her a little bit more in finance and writing articles, and she's gonna meet with John for the next.
Yeah, I mean, you're
Not
trying
this
to,
one,
you're
but the
trying to
next
make a
one.
personal connection on the
Yes.
passion that drives you to be a volunteer for finance or for fire, for whatever
Yeah.
whatever turns you prop. So.
And I found a good photographer. So Grant came up
Yep.
and seen me. Thank you so much. I bumped into Greg Gemlot, and he says, "My son's a good," So it just worked out so well. So
I do think it's important, though, to also recognize those who have been in service, because without them and their ability to stay, no matter
Mhm.
what, sometimes they go through a lot of fire
I know.
for us,
I
too.
know. And,
And-
I was even thinking about stipends. I'm like, how do you get people?
Well,
I mean,
you know what?
I just don't know.
Years ago, we have to have an appreciation
Well,
of
that's
some
what I'm trying to.
But what we did was, the Board of Selectmen had a night of appreciation, and I think we held it at Joanna's that time,
Oh, that's nice.
and we
That'd be a nice thing to
recognized,
do.
what's
Not a
that?
bad
That
idea.
would be a nice thing
That's
to
a
do.
very nice thing to
Yep.
do.
And
Not a
we
bad
did it
idea.
because, look at the years of service and the fact that they're giving up their time.
Yes, yeah.
And I think we came up with these pins, the little pins with the, I still have mine, it says volunteer on it.
Yeah, I
But
have
it's,
one, too.
it's one of those pins, and it's just wonderful that you can thank them again, and to have them
Yeah.
there, and it doesn't have to be, much of anything, but.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's a good
But-
idea.
So
Okay.
let's look at that, maybe after the budget's said and done, maybe, and I'll propose something to you guys.
I think it would be nice.
Okay.
Even if we held it in the town hall here,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, it's just
Yeah.
a night of
Yeah,
appreciation
I
of
get
some
that. I
kind
think
or
that's
other.
really, really nice.
Cause they give up a lot of their time.
I
You
know.
think of these people
I
in
know, I
planning,
think they're
zoning,
great.
economic
They're so
development, you
great.
name it.
Yeah.
Even the boards of appeals, it's
Yeah.
not easy.
No, it's not.
And look at you guys trying to get, I see signs all over Connecticut looking for volunteers. It's really difficult.
Yeah, it's not just us, it's all communities.
And-
Which I had to cry because you're part of the community, you should participate.
At one time, we counted 157, that was way back when Ernie Alsop and I were, 157 volunteers to help us in the town. Now, that's probably, it might even have to be more than that now,
Yeah.
but that's what it was
Well, I
then.
just wanted to bring it up because it's.
Yeah, no, good idea.
I've been talking to people and it's just
Okay.
tough.
To adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Okay.
Second,
All in favor?
Don't go
Aye.
anywhere. I'm gonna take a picture.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for coming, Jackie.
Could you
7:30.
make a copy for me, maybe of the paperwork from Kenny Lloyd about the police car? Just so I have the
What do you
cost
want?
breakdown of it.
Just the numbers or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
what do we have?
I can have Brian
that's
send
okay.
me. Brian send it to you. Is that okay?
I'm like,
think
we have it here.
Here, you
I
can
think
have-
we have
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can.
Here.
They have paperwork. Oh,
Is
there you
that
go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
that'd
you
be
need.
great.
Let me stop this.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you unplug that? Now? No, not down there. Huh? Thank you.